getting recorded. All right, guys, welcome to this webinar. Welcome to the very first webinar of 2022. This is the very first launch webinar, is what we're doing right now today. And we're going to talk about podcasts. That's right. Everyone talks about podcasts on social media. Everyone talks about getting into the world of audio, but no one is taking action. That's what it is. We get all important nice tips on social media, on the web, on YouTube tutorials, etc. But why aren't we taking action? Is it because there's a lot of friction? Is it because it is hard? Let's find out. Let's try to remove the friction in terms of podcast in today's webinar, and let's see how we can reduce friction and get started with our podcast ASAP in this webinar. And let me start by looking at the guest list, because I can see some familiar names here. Yuvraj is here, Tef is here. I can see Greg joining in from Toronto. Happy New Year, Tef. Belated Happy New Year. Kumar is here. Aryan is here. Aryan was the very first person here. Steve Bessler is here. Awesome. So let's start this webinar with a giveaway. Why don't you yes, guys, let's start this webinar with a giveaway. And the giveaway is just type in the word podcast. That's right. In the chat down below, type in the word podcast. And if you stay active during this webinar, you can win the software that we will talk about later at the end of this webinar. So let me see all the people who are commenting down here. Greg is here, and Juka is here. Steve Bessler is here. Podcast. I know you guys are excited about podcast. So yes, let me see. Don't comment twice, guys. Don't comment twice is all I can say. And let me see the active people out here. So Dominic looks so serious.
Podcasting serious.
Yeah. We also have Dieter here. I think Dieter can change his name. His name also comes as Dominic.
I'm also Dominic now. I guess I clicked Dominic's link, and now I'm also Dominic. So I'll start talking with an English accent soon. And yeah.
All right. So I'm choosing the very first winner. The very first winner is Yuvraj. So congratulations, Yuvraj. You have won the lifetime deal of AudioHarvest, the software we're going to talk about that helps you make podcasts. So congratulations, Yuvraj. You can also you can say hi to claim your prize, and we will reach out to you in the end to claim prize. Awesome. Yuvraj is here. Guys, you have to stay active during the webinar because we want you to win. Okay, more giveaways coming soon in this webinar, and a lot of knowledge as well. And in the meantime, guys, do you have any questions about the topic, any questions about podcasting? Feel free to ask us. It need not be related just for the podcast or software that we are going to talk about. It can be about podcasting. It can be about how do you start, the topics to choose, the niche selection, anything. We're all here to help you out, to help you start your first podcast. That's right, guys. So I would like to introduce two gentlemen over here right in front of me. That is Dominic and Dieter. They are from a company called AudioHarvest. Now, AudioHarvest is a software that lets you create a podcast. Now, Dominic and Dieter are going to talk about AudioHarvest, how it is used, and etc. But Dominic, what have we got for the audience here today?
So we're going to go through from A to Z how to create podcasts, and you can do that manually, which takes time and takes love, or you can use technology, which is what we offer, which can do it in real time, super quick with great cost savings. So we're going to kind of chat through how that works on that side of things. We're going to take you through some examples of some of our clients, some of the interesting work we're doing with them. And then we're going to do a live demo where I hand over to Dieter, and he's going to take you through the platform and show what it can really do. So rather than talk, we're going to walk the walk.
Absolutely. Let's walk the walk. And Dominic, you can quickly share your screen. Let's get it started because people here are already excited about it. Perfect. I'm going to mute myself. I have had enough talk. So yes, all yours, Dominic.
All right, give me 1 second. Can everyone see my screen? I'll take that as a yes.
Yes, we can see your screen. Yep.
Cool. Well, it's great to meet everyone today. So as I said before, what we're going to do is in the beginning, I'm going to take everyone through how podcasting work, from the creative side of it through to the technical side of it. What's the end-to-end steps you do to create a podcast on that side? And on that, and then we're going to have a live demo, and then we're going to end with a Q&A at the end of that. So that's essentially the agenda we're going to go through today on those things. And so I'm going to introduce us to begin with. So essentially, my name's Dominic, as you know. So my background is that I've worked in startups for a number of years. So I've established businesses before and exited them. The last company that I founded was actually sold to an American company. So I lived in America before I moved to Sweden. And that company, interestingly enough, was owned by an Indian founder, and that company was called Theorem. But what I became most interested in was audio. So after I'd sold that business, I started working with a number of really interesting audio businesses. Pandora, which after Spotify is the biggest music platform in the world, I was working with them in America on reshaping their platform. DAX is the biggest global audio exchange in the world, so I helped set up and found that. And then in Sweden, I've worked with Acast, which was recently did a public offering and is the biggest provider of podcasts, actually. So that inspired me to get into this world of podcasting, because the audience is now significant with over 1 billion people, and it's just a really interesting space. There's lots of great experiences that people can have there. It's a great way to communicate with people and find out information. So essentially we hit upon this idea, which was podcasting for businesses, because what we noticed was that whilst there was over 1 billion people listening, there were very, very few businesses that were actually present on podcasts, which seemed strange to us. So essentially we started chatting to lots of businesses, big technology businesses, FMCG businesses, and said, why aren't you doing podcasting? And all of these marketers said, look, we really want to do podcasting. We know our audience is there. We know they're engaged, and we know if we can get great content out to them, they're going to find out more about our products and probably buy them. Our challenge is we don't know how to. It's complicated. We don't have the technology skills in-house, and we know it's a creative problem and the time and resource. So that struck us as a great opportunity. Essentially, if you could get the technology to solve these problems that marketeers were talking about, we could then help them. So that's where we hit upon this idea of creating an end-to-end technology platform that actually creates podcast content for brands. And that's just the beginning for us, because actually what we want to do is create audio content, whatever shape and form, for businesses. So that could be on-site, that could be in social, that could be taking content from a website and transforming it into audio, but that could also be recording your own content within that. So that's essentially my story. I'm just going to quickly hand you over to Dieter, who's just going to do a quick intro about himself now.
Yeah, hi, I'm Dieter. I'm actually from Belgium originally, and I worked in various tech roles during my career. But I came to Sweden to work for Spotify, and at Spotify I worked in the teams that were responsible for like putting the music in the Spotify catalog, basically. And one of the big projects we worked on was also rolling out podcasts within Spotify, because since a year or two, Spotify has really been putting a lot of attention into podcasts and really trying to grow that. And so that's where I saw also the explosive growth of podcasts. And then I met Dominic, and Dominic had a great idea for this business. And so that was like a match made in heaven, I would say. I was knee deep into the podcast business. Dominic had this great idea. I was looking for a technical challenge. And so that's how we got all of this started. So yeah, here we are.
And you love to play music as well, which is another nice fit with audio.
I do, definitely.
Yeah. So now I'm just going to move on. So firstly, the first question is, if I can get is why podcasting? So you're all here and you're here to find out about podcasting. But before we go into how you do it, why should you do it in the first place? Well, as I said before, there is a significant audience there now. So there's over 1 billion people have listened to podcasts, and that's global. But it's also business decision makers as well. So LinkedIn states 42% of all of their business decision makers listen to podcasts regularly. So what you have is a big consumer and a big business audience. And if you're not present, you're not influencing and selling to your customers. The second big reason to do podcasting is it's just a great way to engage with your customers. It's a long form format. So from 3 minutes to 10 minutes to 20 minutes, you can get someone listening solely to your content. They have the headphones on, they're listening to you, your product and your education and your services within that. So that's, from a marketeer's point of view, that's just gold. Then the third point is that it's a great way for you to sell your products and services. So if you start to educate people, you can then start to influence them. We also, within our platform, which Dieter will go through, is we have a marketing promotions tool within our platform that helps you directly sell your products to your customers. And then finally, it's a great way to create new revenue streams, whether that be through advertising. So if you have a podcast, you can actually insert ads within that, or you can even charge people to subscribe to it. So there's many different ways that you can use podcasts to help your business. And then one of the myths. So typically when everyone thinks about podcasting, they think of something like the Joe Rogan show. So a huge show, live speaker, someone well-known, entertaining you. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There are literally millions of different podcasts out there touching on every different subject under the sun. So entertainment is just essentially one category within this. People use it to educate themselves. People use this to help them with their lives within that. So there's many ways and many different ways that podcasts are used. And then if you look at that, there's literally education that you can use for podcasts. So there are many, many education podcasts out there. People use it for work as well, so to solve problems. So many of the podcasts we have are with technology clients, and basically these technology businesses are educating their customers on how to use their products and how to improve themselves within that sector. You also have ones that are dealing with life issues. So we work for legal and non-profit podcasts, and essentially they're looking to help people with different life situations as well. And just to give you a sense of all of the different ways that podcasts are consumed, I just thought I'd throw up this chart here, and you can see there's literally over 20 different major areas that people go to listen to podcasts and find out information and make decisions around that. And if you look, over a third, the second highest, is seeking information. So they want to know information and find out things. A third of the listeners are listening for technology information. So they want to find out about technology products. They want to understand how to use technology. A fifth of this audience is looking for business information, but it goes the whole spectrum here. It's got travel, it's got science within that. So within all of these different content areas, there is a subject for almost every business out there that they can leverage to reach their customers with. And the other thing that we really like about podcasts is it's both a local and a global platform. So if you're a business that's just operating in one region or one country, you can distribute to that audience there and you will get significant numbers within that. But it is also a global. So people listen globally, and you can distribute your podcast to everyone there, and it will get picked up by Google search and found within that. So it's a great way to reach either a local audience or a global audience within that. Now, that was just touching on why podcast and what the value of it is. Now I'm just going to go through and going to go into how to create a podcast. And the interesting thing about podcasts is it's a combination of skills that you need. So it's a creative challenge, because essentially you have to create content. So you have to have a concept and you have to write it. But it's also a technical challenge, because you have to record the actual podcast. So you need equipment and you need software to manage that, and you need the skills to do that. And it's also a marketing challenge, because once you've created this, you need to distribute this and make sure it reaches your listenership and that they're aware of that. And this is why we created our platform, because for many marketeers, they don't have these skills in-house and they don't have the resource to build themselves. So what they need is partners to help them do that, essentially, within that. And that's what we've created to help them with it. None of this is essentially impossible to do, but it does take quite a lot of investment and time if you're going to do it for yourself. So if you are going to create a podcast for yourself, you have to just start with a few essential questions. And the first and most important question is what are you trying to achieve with a podcast? What's the objective? Are you trying to sell products? Are you trying to educate people? Are you trying to influence people? And once you understand that, you'll know what type of podcast you're going to create. And then once you know that, you need to start thinking about, is this going to be a group podcast? This is going to be solo, and this is going to be discussion. Then the second question you need to move on to is, well, why podcasting? If I'm trying to sell product, how is podcasting going to help that? Or am I trying to influence customers? How is this going to help? Is it going to reach the people I need it to reach? And is it going to influence them? So that's the second key question. Once you understand that, you need to understand who your audience is, because that will help you find them in this podcasting world. Is it a business audience? Is it a science audience? Is that audience present? What kind of content are they interested in? How am I going to engage these people? So you really need to understand your audience and what they're consuming. And then the final key question is can I provide content that will consistently engage this audience? Because it's no good producing 1 or 2 podcast episodes. The thing with podcasting is it's a constant relationship that you're building with these people. So you have to be serious about it, and you have to be able to support that content. So essentially, there are 2 routes into podcasting. There's the manual route that I just touched upon there, where you build everything from the ground up. And that takes a lot of time and a lot of skill, and it's generally done by podcasting professionals. Then there's the second route that you can take, which is using technology to build that. So in our case, what we do is we take content that customers have already created and we transform that into podcasts, and we create the end-to-end solution. So essentially, all of those things you just saw that you needed to do, the technology platform does all that heavy lifting for you. And essentially, both your routes have their value. It just depends what you're looking to achieve, whether you want to go down the manual or the automated route. And we're going to touch on both in this presentation today. So for the manual solution, it's more time consuming and less scalable, because every time you create a new podcast episode, you have to invest all of that time. So that is typically used when you're looking to engage and entertain audiences. So this is typically people who are actually going to monetize a podcast, and they have the time to invest, and they're going to create the return that justifies investing all this time in creating a podcast. If you go down that route, the essential key steps to creating that podcast are as follows. The first one is content creation. So you essentially need to create your concept. So I'm going to do a podcast, a science-based podcast, and it's going to inform people about the product that I've built in the science arena. So it's going to be a discussion format, and then you have to write the script and establish the length of that podcast. So how interested and engaged can I make my audience for that? Is the typical length for these kinds of podcast episodes 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and that will dictate the length of the script or the number of questions that you ask if you're going to have a discussion. So that's the first key thing that you need to do is the creative bit. You come up with a concept, you design the idea, and you start to write the script. Once you have that, you need to make sure that you have the equipment in order to enable you to record the podcast. The 3 essentials for doing that, you need more equipment, but the 3 essentials you need is you need a microphone, so you can record into it. You need a headphone to get really good, clean sound, and you need a USB audio interface. This is essentially, if you're going to do group podcasts, it manages all of the sound and communication between each of the speakers and makes sure that that's really clean. Once you've got the equipment, then you need the recording space itself. So you need to have a soundproof area you can go into, but you know you're going to do a nice, clean podcast. You need the hosts and the guests. So you need to organize that, and you need to have that. If it's going to be a weekly podcast, you need to have that happening every week. Then you do the recording, and once the recording is done, you need to select some editing software. So you need something like Audacity or GarageBand or Hindenburg, but essentially record the podcast, and then you start to edit it. Do you want intro music? Do you want to edit out certain elements of the podcast that didn't work so well? And then when that's done, you need to essentially export it as an MP3 file. Once that's done, you then need to create the artwork. So you need to have the logos, you need to have the descriptions, you need to build out the web presence for that as well. Put that together, and now you can move on to distribution. So you need to create your RSS feed. You need to establish a place where you can host that content. There are providers out that can help that. And then finally, you need to push that podcast out into the directories. So most famously, you have iTunes, but there are literally tens of hundreds of different directories and distributors for podcasts out there. So you need to push it out to them. Then you need to do the marketing for that. So you need to have the on-site marketing. You need to make sure that your SEO is working well, so all of those podcast episodes are found. It's really important that you have great social within that. And the better that you do the marketing in the first 2 weeks, the more likely that your podcast is that it will succeed. Essentially, iTunes look in the first 2 weeks, and if a podcast is very popular, they start to promote it. So the first 2 weeks of any podcast launch are very vital. And then finally, once you've got your podcast up and running, you need to make sure that you have the resource and presence to manage that on an ongoing basis. Here, just for the record, is some of the essential equipment that you need. So I've touched on some of this already, but obviously you need a computer to put the recording into, the microphone and the USB we talked about. If you're looking to do a really professional podcast, you need a pop filter and windscreen. This is just to make sure the sound is clean. And if you're doing a regular podcast, then I also recommend having a microphone stand. It just makes it easier. With regards to the space, you either just have your solitary space there, so you need a private room. If you're inviting people and you're going to do it all together, you need the space to do that, and you need to have the equipment to enable that to happen. In terms of the software, as I've mentioned, you have the recording and editing, so people will use things like Audacity. So you need someone who has the skills to actually do the editing and the technology know-how to create the RSS and push that out, and then to use one of these hosting platforms to manage it. Even if you use this software, you will still need to manually distribute that podcast to all of the directories. So for iTunes, you need to go to iTunes and then literally insert the RSS feed there. So this is the essentials for actually creating your own podcast. As you can see, it's a decent amount of work to create a podcast in there. So you have to be prepared to invest the time to learn how to do it and to make sure that it's a good experience. On the other side, you have the automated solution, which is what AudioHarvest offer. Essentially, what we do is we have an end-to-end platform, but we'll literally go and search for content on a client's website. We will then capture that content, we will clean that content and transform that into audio in real time. Our platform then distributes that for you to iTunes. So all of the things you just saw that I talked about from the manual process, we have a platform that does all of that for you. And literally, if you sign up for us, it will be done in minutes. The customer role within that is simply that they get control. They get to go into the UI. They have to upload a logo and make decisions on what content they will push out as audio. The value to the automated solution is it's much more scalable. So essentially, you're always producing content, and it essentially creates an always-on audio channel. It will go and grab content from your website and automatically create podcast episodes and distribute them for you. You don't need to do any work. The work is done by the platform itself. And in terms of cost, it's extremely effective as well. So typically, for a company that's doing a professional podcast, it will cost $50,000 plus to run that annually. With a SaaS platform such as ours, your entry cost is just a few dollars. So lots of the clients who work with us, they're already through the door just on price alone. But then what they really value after they start using us is the speed. So before it was going to take them months to get it set up, our platform does it in minutes. And then it's the scalability of the solution. They love the fact that essentially we're their audio marketing department for them. And this is just a quick overview of how the platform works, essentially. So we've created a search tool that will go and find the content. We then assess that content and provide a recommendation engine that says, these are the sections and the type of content that will work well as an audio experience. We then use our platform and technology to capture that content. We clean that content so it works well as an audio experience. We transform that into audio, and then we push it out and market it on the client's behalf for them. And so finally, I'm just going to round out with how we create value for businesses. What are the different types of businesses we work with, and why do they use us? So we work with Hewlett-Packard, and essentially for them, they value us as a branding tool. They really need to speak to senior business decision makers and influence them and educate them and create loyalty. So they use our platform to create a podcast that informs them about all of the things happening in their sector. And so that's really, really valuable because it's high-end customers that they're creating loyalty with. Then we work with startups such as Girls into Coding, and for them, it's about event promotion. They have lots of events that are going on, and they need to get people attending those events. So they use this, the podcast that we create for them tells their audiences about up-and-coming events, what they're learning from them, why they're interested in those. And this has been incredibly successful for them. So they've had over 27,000 views and an incredible rise in the number of people attending their events. We also work in the non-profit sector. So for the non-profits, this is a great way to drive donations. The reason for that essentially is that mobile is the biggest channel for driving donations. Most people do donations through clicking on mobile. And so what Mary's Meals, which is a global charity, does is they create stories around how they're helping people globally. And at the end of each of those stories, they say, if you would like to donate, please go to here and donate. And so for them, it's purely driving revenue for donations to enable them to be successful. We also work with communications businesses, and they use it as a way to extend PR. So they create all of this written PR, which works really, really well on the web. And what they use us to do is to transform all of that into audio, and we then become their audio PR department. So for example, we work with the Digital Voice, and what we've created for them is this weekly podcast where they have all the latest news going out. But we've also created on their site, the Digital Voice, which is essentially a section of the site which is purely in audio within that as well. So we also do audio on site as well, which Dieter will go into a little bit more detail in the next part of this presentation. And then we also work with data companies. So this is an Australian company we work with, and they provide data analytics and insights. And for them, it's about educating their B2B customers that are in the ad agency sector and the marketing sector. So we communicate with them and help them sell in their products. And the final example is we also work in the consumer sector. So we work with FMCGs and we help drive sales there. So we work, for in this example, with the London Vermouth company. So it's essentially a spirit drink. And what we've created with them is the cocktail hour. So every week they come out with a new cocktail. And what this does is create a loyal base of customers and drive sales through loyalty programs to buy the product itself. So that's a whistle-stop tour essentially of how you get into podcasting, what the value of it is, and how we can help you in this area. So without further ado, I'm just going to pass you over to Dieter, who's now going to do the live demo.
Absolutely, guys. Dieter is going to share his screen and show the live demo of the product that we're talking about. That's AudioHarvest. But we have a special surprise that we haven't done like before this at any point. That it's for the people who will stay till the end of this webinar. It's for everyone, by the way. This surprise for everyone. So if you got to stay till the end of this webinar to receive this for you. I see some people are like, and all that. Stay till the end because the surprise is yet to come. We're going to help you out. And I can guarantee that you will start your very first podcast after this. So yes, stay till the end. Yes, that's it. Dieter, you can share your screen and you can show it. I can guarantee you, we never did this in our previous webinars. This is the very first webinar we are trying to do it. Yes, so I can tell that to you. If you're watching our webinars, I know some of the people are veterans here who've been watching our webinars. Yes, so you know it. We never did that, and it's gonna close. So yes, Dieter, go ahead.
All right, so I'm gonna take this into the practical domain. I'm just gonna show you how it works basically. So if you take a subscription, if you buy a lifetime deal from PitchGround and you sign up with us, the first thing you'll see is this screen. I will basically ask you for your coupon code. So you just, this is just a test code I'm using now. You just paste the coupon code you got from PitchGround and click continue. And then we'll have a pretty standard sign up flow. So I'm just going to enter my name and my email. And password, of course.
Guys, we generally show this from the login screen so that you get to understand how the software works from the basic, from the ground up. This is exactly what you will see when you will sign up for the software and see like filling the company name, etc., etc. Dieter, please go ahead.
Yeah. So what I'll use for this demo is this company called Kinsta. We don't have any affiliation with this company. I just think it's like a nice site. They have good content. It's also a site that onboards pretty fast, so it's good for this demo. So I'm just going to take this site and put it in our tool. So the company is called Kinsta. I think they're from the US, and continue. And now what happens is in the background, we'll start scanning the website and we'll start looking at what content we can find on the website. So there's a video playing here also guiding you a little bit through the registration process, but I'm just going to do that for you. So I'm going to click continue here. The next step, we need to pick a voice for our podcast. So we have a selection of different languages available here, some dialects, British, US, Australian English. I'm just going to pick US English here. We can demo these voices. So let's have a small listen.
AudioHarvest creates great audio experiences out of a client's online published content. AudioHarvest creates great audio experiences out of a
Okay.
client's online published content.
So we can have female, male as well. And all those languages are available?
Yes.
Oh,
There's
wow.
a quite big
Nice.
list here.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So I kind of like this.
AudioHarvest creates great
this voice
audio
here.
experience.
So I'm just going to pick this one, continue. And now here is it possible that you might have to wait a little bit while our technology is still scanning the website? But now I know that this website process is pretty fast because, of course, I tried this before. And so what we will do is we will look at the different sections we find on your website, and we will try to pick the one that makes most sense. So, for example, if you have a blog or if you have a insight section or resources, we're probably going to suggest to you to pick that one. So in this case, this website has a blog. We just say, hey, blog is probably the thing that you know where you want to get the content from the website. So, okay, we select blog and we click continue. And that's basically it. The basis of our account is set up. We can just click through, and now we actually end up in the main AudioHarvest UI. So once your account is set up and you log in, this is basically what you'll see. This is the dashboard of your account. And again, here we kind of show you the different steps that you need to take before you can publish your podcast. So during the onboarding, we already selected a voice. We already selected the different sections that we want to use as content, but there's still a few steps that we need to go through. So here on the left, we have the menu of our tool. So let's go to these different pages to see what you can actually configure. So now we're on the dashboard. We can go to the voice selection, but we already did this on the onboarding, so we don't really have to look further at this. We can see here that we basically have two sections. We selected the blog section and did not select the homepage section. On a typical website, you'll probably have more sections here to choose from. Also, if you enter the tool and there's no pages showing up, this is probably where you need to reconfigure your account and maybe select a few more sections. And this page is where you're probably going to spend the most of your time. So this is basically, this page shows you a list of all the articles that we found on your website. So we can have a look at these articles. We can inspect the text that we found in the article. We can also edit the article. So what we will do is we will pick the content from your article, and we will try to do that in an intelligent way. So we will try to only pick the content of the article. Also, if there's like quotes or anything that breaks the flow of the story, we're going to try to filter that out or find some solution to make sure that the text that remains is a flowing story that works well as a podcast episode. However, if you think there's certain content that you want to remove, or you want to edit the content a bit before you push it to the podcast, you can just do that here. You just click edit article. You can go in, you can edit the text as however you want. Like, for example, if I look at this here in the end, ask away in the comment section. Yeah, we probably don't want that in the podcast. So just remove that and press save. And now if we actually want to publish this article, all we need to do is click this button, create audio file, and it will create the article. That's basically as simple as it is to publish an article. Move around the windows a bit. So let's publish some more articles. I've hit the limit now here for this account. All these articles are pretty big, so it basically tells me, okay, you used all the words available on your account. One feature that we have here is a switch to automatically publish articles. So there's basically two ways to use our tool. One way is, if you enable this switch, we will automatically scan your website and find every new article that is published on your site. When we find the article, we will pick it up, we will add it to this list here, and we will automatically publish it into the podcast. However, you can also turn that off. So you can just disable the switch. And then what will happen is we will still find the article, we will still add it to the list. But if you want to publish it in your podcast, you have to log into your account and actually press this button here to create an audio file. So you can go for like the full auto approach and just have a completely hands-off experience. You don't have to think about it. The tool will do everything in the background automatically. Or you can choose to have a little bit more control, look at the article, maybe edit it a bit, and then publish it. That is up to you. So now we have these articles here. We've created some audio files. We still want to publish that in some way. And this is where we get to the actual podcast setup. So for the podcast, we need to provide a title. We need to provide a description. We can pick a logo. I've already gone ahead and picked the logo from this company. So I can upload this as the icon for the podcast. I can give it a title. And then all we need to do is say if the podcast has explicit language and pick some categories. The categories are basically will determine where the podcast pops up in different podcast catalogs. So for now, let's just pick business here, very generic. Press save. And our podcast is created. Of course, a podcast typically you will listen to in Apple, you will listen to it in Spotify, or maybe some podcast app on your phone. So we just show a web version here of the podcast. Basically, it gives you an idea of the icon, how the icon looks, the title, the description. You can see the different articles that are published in the podcast. You can also have a listen. So let's have a listen here, for example.
How to migrate from Shopify to WooCommerce in 8 steps. Shopify is an excellent platform for launching your first online store. However, as your shop grows, you'll likely start to notice the limitations that come with this hosted platform. If you feel that you've outgrown it, migrating from Shopify to WooCommerce is easier than you might think.
Just to have a small idea of this particular voice that I picked, and also to demonstrate here that you can have a look in your podcast, have a listen. And if everything you see and hear sounds good to you, all you need to do is just press this one publish button. And your podcast will get published on Apple, on iTunes, Apple iTunes, on Spotify, and on Google. There's a little waiting time before the publishing actually happens, typically 1 or 2 days. But that's kind of worst case scenario. Usually Spotify and Apple are pretty fast. One feature I just want to touch on also is if you have content that is not on your website, and so typically we will pick content from your website, but you can also just create your own article if you want. So for example, we have a feature here to just create an article. So you can just type in some content here. I can create a new section, for example, let's call this a manual section. And then you can just type in or paste in some content, press save, and the article will appear in the list here. And then you can do just the same as other articles. You can edit it, you can publish it to your podcast. So using this feature, you can basically just take any content and add it to your podcast. So this was basically a demo of the onboarding and the basic setup of your account. Now, I just want to show another feature for which I'll log into another account. And this is an account of a website which is called the New Musical Express. So Dominic is from the UK and he's a big music fan, and he suggested this site as one of our first demo sites that we use. And this site has a lot of articles. So if we see here in the article list, we have almost 50,000 articles here. Of course, not all of them are published. But what we also have is articles from a lot of different sections. So if you look here, we have 11 sections. So articles either are related to TV, to music, to film, different categories of all these topics. And if we look in the list of articles, we can see that each article is also tagged with the section where we found the article. Now, The special case about this account is that it has multiple podcasts set up. So you can see that we have 4 podcasts here, and 3 of them cover like the broad topics of that all the articles are about. So we have a TV podcast, which is basically capturing all articles that have something to do with TV. The same for film and the same for music. And as you can see, NME is mostly a music site, so there's a lot more music articles here published. And if you choose a PitchGround Plan B or Plan C account, you can also set up multiple podcasts. And how does this work exactly? Well, it's very simple. If you go into the setup of your podcast, you will see this extra section here that basically just tells you which sections do you want, articles from which sections do you want to add to this podcast. So every section that you select here will basically, the articles from that section will get added to the podcast. So that's pretty straightforward. Just to answer the question from the chat, if you take the Plan C option, you have unlimited podcasts, I believe. And I think in the Plan B option, I think there is 4 podcasts included. Correct me if I'm wrong there. One feature that's also available in the Plan B and Plan C is the ability to add a pre or a post roll. So what is this? This is simply a little text snippet that is added to the article or to the podcast before or after the main content of the article. So you might have some kind of shout out that you want to add to the start of each podcast, or at the end of each podcast. For example, you might have a call to action, just asking your listeners to go to your website and sign up or something like that. So basically you can just add that here, and then every article that gets created by our platform will automatically get that text added before or after the main content. So that's a little nifty feature that you can also use with our technology. Now there's only one last thing that I want to demo, and for that, again, I will log into another account. And this is an account of an actual customer of ours that's live. And the website is called Girls into Coding, and it's a UK organization that basically tries to promote engagement with girls with for STEM topics, so science, technology, education. Yeah, I don't know exactly all the abbreviation of STEM. Anyway, this is a really nice organization, and they are using our technology. And what I want to demo here is that they have set up an on-site player. So let me, if I can hide the Zoom bar here somehow. I'm just gonna do this. So
yeah, Zoom bar is by default hidden, so yeah, you don't have to worry about it. Yeah,
it was covering my tabs here at the top of my screen. But if we look at the website of Girls into Coding, you can see there's a blog article here, and you can see a player popping up, and that is actually something that we offer. You can just add a small snippet of code to your site template or to your article, and then if you have an audio file available for that article, a player will pop up on your page, and you can just press play.
2021 has by no means seen a return to normal, but many organizations have.
Love it. So love it. So basically people can convert their blog posts and have a listen to me article, like sort of player hanging on top of their blog post. That's
exactly
nice.
Like nowadays, most people, they want to do something while they consume content. So that way you can just enable on your website. There's a blog article, people see the play button, they press play, and they can listen to it while they, fold their laundry or something, whatever. One more thing, just the page you see here is reporting. Of course, if you create an account with us, you will also see how much the podcast and the widget is actually used. So in this case, we can see how many times the player on the site was actually played. We can see how many minutes was listened to. We have a very similar page for the podcast. We can see how many times the podcast was played. We can see how many times it was loaded and was viewed by people. So there is reporting available, so you can have some idea of what the podcast that you publish is actually, how much engagement is actually driving. And that's all I've got. So that's where I'm going to give it back.
Yes, yes. So let's see the questions and let's answer some questions before we go with the special offer for every attendee out there. Dieter, you said something that Plan A won't support the pre-roll and post-roll. Is that something?
I need to check
Okay,
exactly
sure.
what the details are, but I thought that was the case. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
All
not
right.
part of the that package.
Plan A, that is.
Plan A, yeah, it's not part of that package yet.
Got it, got it. So guys, let me quickly share my screen and show you what this deal is all about. So what we are talking about is, let's say you want to start your own podcast. What happens? You will think about equipment, you'll think about topics, you'll think about all sorts of things that, and all sorts come up with all sorts of reasons, so that you ultimately put a full stop to it and be like, fine, this is just a lot of work. But what if you can convert your existing online writings or those articles into a podcast? Yes, you need not manually input the article. You just input the website, and AudioHarvest will take in the articles from the blog section and convert those articles into podcasts. And now, let's say your blog is about marketing, then you can start a marketing related podcast, and you can basically convert all your articles into podcasts by default, and then just publish it one by one by one. Yes. Now, this method via AI, via using a software like this, will only take you a maximum of 20 to 30 minutes to start your very first podcast. That's right. 20 to 30 minutes when you just sign up. We just showed it to you live in front of you. We just signed up. We just went to it. We just input the website of Kinsta, and we just saw it took all the articles. It just basically converted it. That's how simple it is, guys. That's really how simple it is. And that's why we're like, yes, you're going to start your very first podcast if you're using such a tool, if you're taking the help of AI for this. Now, we showed that we have a ton of languages out there. You can already sign up. You can already take a listen from here, but you can just sign up and you can see the languages by yourself. You can take the tour of the product by yourself and see how easy it is to start your very first podcast. Now, naturally, what happens is these kind of tools, AI, now they have a server cost to maintain every single month. So they charge basically around $50, $90, etc., per month, because AI is practically working behind the scenes to convert that text to speech, and also keep that player on your website. So they charge around monthly costs like this. But with PitchGround, what happens is you only pay once. That's right. This $50, let's make it around $39 or something. Okay, let's make it that. That's for life. That's right. You need not pay any more monthly costs at all. You just pay once, and you will get these words every single month. They get renewed, and that's how beautiful that going with PitchGround is. But you have a free plan. Try it out. You can have up to 10 podcast episodes, 10,000 words. You can just try out one or two podcasts and see how it converts, how you get the feel of it. You get the pre-roll, post-roll, etc. Get the feel of it. And here's my special offer for you. Special offer is, I'm going to do a one-on-one consultation with every single person that's watching this webinar. That's right. I'm going to reach out to every single person personally and do a one-on-one consultation with you. That's right. So that I can jam with you. I can help you out, start your own podcast. And it's absolutely free for only the webinar attendees. And I'll share a form link with you. That form link is valid only for an hour. So get ready for the form link to come in. We'll share it after we answer all the questions you have about AudioHarvest, about the product, and etc. And after this, I'll get on a call with you during this week or next week, because there are so many attendees out there. Then we can schedule a call, we can jam, and I'll personally help you start your very first podcast live on a Zoom, one-on-one Zoom call like this. That's right. I've never done this before. That's right. That's the special surprise that I wanted to say. I've never done this before anytime. I've been doing my own consultations, private consultation outside of PitchGround, but this is the very first time I'm trying to help of the people who are attending this webinar, who's taking out this valuable time to attend this webinar, so that I can specifically help you out start your very first podcast. Yes, we are bullish so that you start your very first podcast. That's what it is. I'm not doing any sales pitch in this webinar. That's the difference of this webinar. We're going to do a one-on-one call with you so that you start your very first podcast. That's what.
Minang,
Yeah.
we have support. So Dieter's got a lot of expertise in this area. You have any questions? We've got a support ticket there. Dieter and myself and the team will be there to help you. So we're happy to do live demos and support as well. We don't know as much as Manang, but we'll
wow. Okay, this was unexpected. I didn't know that Dominic would just pitch in, and okay, that's all of us. That's all of us trying to help you out start your very first podcast. We have a small form to fill up with 3 or 4 questions, and after that, I'll personally send an email with you. We'll set up and we'll fix a call so that we get this started. So guys, do you like this offer from us? Do you like this offer? Type in YES or something so that I can see what is out there. Okay, Tef is here saying, Yuvraj is saying, yeah, Praful is saying yes. Yes, absolutely. So guys, no more excuses, because we are here to help you out start your very first podcast. That's what it is. And this is only for the webinar attendees. Nobody else is going to get this offer. The form will close in 1 hour. But before that, I want you to please ask all the questions that you have regarding AudioHarvest, because we're going to answer them all. We are here available, and this webinar only ends after we answer all your questions. So let's look at the Q&A section. I think those have been answered already with by Dieter. So awesome. So let's look at, yes. So I'm sending the link of the form over here. And the form link is in the chat for everyone to access. All the people who are watching this webinar, this form link is for you. Just access it, fill in the details. We are here to help you out start your very first podcast. And I will personally teach you how to market your podcast. I will teach you how you can get maximum exposure for your podcast. I'll see to it that you, all the guys over here who are watching this, who fill the form, and because you've taken the time, we are taking our time to help you out start your very first podcast. This is our 2022 plan, and this is our first webinar of 2022. And I'm sure you guys are liking this. So do you have any more questions, guys? Do we have any more questions about the product, about podcasting, etc.? We're anyway going to schedule a one-on-one call. But if you have any more questions, this is the time to ask it now in the chat. We are here to answer all your questions. So this was the surprise, guys. This was the surprise we wanted to give. We don't do it for every product out there. It's hard for us to take out like one-on-one with every single person who's attending the webinar and doing it. There are a lot of people who come in, a lot of questions are coming, but we are here to start the very first. We are here to help you out start your podcast. That's what it is. So let me look at any more questions. A free copy. I'm going to do giveaway. As I said in the start, we have a giveaway as well. Before we end this webinar, we have one more giveaway that we got. One lucky person who's watching this webinar is going to win it. So let's wait for more questions coming. Aryan says, where do you see AudioHarvest in a year from now? Especially from an early adopter perspective, we are just buying the software, lifetime deal. What are we getting 1 year from now? Yeah.
So our product works. It's the same product essentially, whether you're an early adopter, a global business, a business that's just joined us now in 5 years' time. The essentials of creating and distributing a podcast, making that easy and making that a great experience. We will give the same experience to everyone that comes to us. Where we see ourselves in a year's time is global expansion. So we're moving through the UK and the US, and we're looking to send this to every market essentially that has a phone that has web access, because any country has a phone with web access can use our product and reach their customers. And beyond that, we're looking to continue to improve and broaden out the products. We've got a whole bunch of great new features and functions that Dieter's got planned for this year coming. And we'll start to chat about those some more in the Facebook group.
Perfect. So yes, that's what it is. And a year from now, what you're going to see is by using AudioHarvest and by starting your very first podcast, you will have many episodes out there, hopefully, because you stay consistent, you grow. That's what it is. And many more listeners, many more downloads, and etc. That's what it is. Ultimately, it's your gain, your own benefit, your own brand. And hopefully, in a year from now, you'll be monetizing your podcast and getting those brand deals, getting those advertisements, and getting the money, an extra side income from your podcast.
What I would say is all of our early adopters, before meeting up with PitchGround, we have 100% client retention. Once people sign up for this, they love it. It's a great product. So for us, it's about getting it out and getting people knowing about it. That's our challenge. It's just spreading the word.
Perfect. And that's why companies come to PitchGround, to talk to you guys, especially to offer you the best deal possible. Instead of offering $50 a month to $100 a month, we're offering one price for life. You can just practically own the software. That's what it is. That's what PitchGround is all about. And that's what we are here to help you out as well. Perfect, Ty, exactly. And that's what this is. And we have one more question in the question and answer. Tef says, what if I need to record my own podcast? Can I add it into the app and schedule it? This is a really good question.
It's a great question, and that's on the roadmap. So that's what we're working on. That's one of the releases for this year. So that's we've got 3 major releases that we're working on this year. The one we're going to do before that is to upload audio, essentially. So that one's going to come quite soon. So essentially, if you've recorded an audio yourself, we're going to enable you to just upload it and make it part of this. And then we're going to build from that. So all I can say is just keep on watching for our updates is coming in this year.
Perfect. And I can see comments coming in because there are many users who joined us from Twitter. I think Aryan is one of them. Proma is one of them. I know she's been active on Twitter. So this is like my very first PitchGround live. Awesome. So good to see very first timers over here who are joining in. Yes, I see every single person who's here, who's joining in. I'm here to give you like personal attention so that you can start your very first podcast. Exactly. Geoff is here for the very first time. Awesome. We have many first timers over here. That's amazing. Tef is here. He's like a veteran. He's been attending all our webinars. I've seen Radha Krishna before, Steve Bessler before. Praful Thakkar is, we chat almost on an everyday basis. Joseph Wong is active. Alex is here. Ty is here. Yuvraj is our very first time as well. Awesome. Guys, first timers who are watching this, we hope to see you in our upcoming webinars as well, because we have many more products, many more topics to talk about, where we're going to share you much more value in our upcoming webinars, different topics. Let me quickly show you how it is. And guys, fill up the form because I see many responses are already coming. I'm going to stop the responses in like half an hour because I don't want this link to spread and some 200, 300 people booking calls with me. I don't have the bandwidth for that. So please fill up the form. It's like a few questions, 3 or 4 questions. After this webinar, you can just fill it up and I'm going to close it in exactly another half an hour. So that's what this is. And yes, the recording of this session will be provided for everyone. You will get an email. If you signed up for this webinar, you're going to get an email with the recording of this session. So you don't have to worry about that particular aspect as well. Let me look at the other stuff. Questions. Yes, we have questions from Tef over here. Is there any other AI involved in the app other than the TTS aspect?
Yeah, so we have algorithms essentially when we do the search and the recommendation engine and the cleaning.
Perfect. And is SSML editing in the roadmap? I believe it is.
Yeah. I mean, that's Dieter's looking at that. He can answer that in more detail.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite top features because it just gives you so much more flexibility in how you, the voice expresses itself in the podcast. That's definitely that's high on our roadmap.
Love it. And for areas that are highly visual, like electronics, coding, etc., how can I benefit from podcasting? Any use cases? So, Tef, one of the use cases I believe what you can do is look at the other competitors. This is exactly what a marketer does. I used to do. If I don't understand something, a niche and etc., I just look at that niche, my competitors and etc., and see what they are doing. And I think as let's take the example of coding, for example, I can talk about the trends of coding. I can talk about people getting started with coding. I can talk about different aspects that are not as necessarily visual, but the other aspects of it which are not visual of it. Dominic, you want to go forward with it? Yeah.
Yeah. So what I would say is, say for automotive, electronics, travel, they're very visual. But a lot of these also have information. So when you're traveling, you want to know about the area. You want to know what's happening. You want a travel guide. So essentially, when we work with travel, they create a travel guide. When we work with electronics people, they want to understand about the product. They want to know the difference between the two different products. What's the advantages, disadvantages? So when they're on their commute home, they basically go, I want to buy this product, but I don't know if it's any good and how it compares to the others. They download your episode. It explains the value of that product, why they should use it, and how. So it's about education and informing your customers and influencing them to buy. That's the job that it has in those areas.
Absolutely. And if you look at it, there are already so many travel podcasts, Zero to Travel. They're talking about biking. They're talking about our experience to Spain. They're talking about hiking. They're talking about, a lot of things out there. Travel that
exactly,
matters.
and you can't get a more visual product than travel.
Yes,
but
yes.
It's information heavy, and people want to know about the place, and you can't just get that through visuals.
Absolutely. And the other aspects of travel as well. Like, for example, a hottest topic idea is how to book flight tickets for cheap. You can just do those kind of instruction podcasts over here.
Another one that was really popular in the last year is information on COVID and travel restrictions. That was hugely popular on podcasts. They just wanted to know, and they needed that immediate regular update and just have it pinged in.
Right. Those kind of things, guys, cannot be pushed on a YouTube video. Those kind of things can be pushed on social media, but again, social media has its own algorithm so that it gets lost or something. But with this on podcast, it's there, it's searchable, it's indexed on Google. That's right. You don't have to worry about distribution at all and etc. Everything is taken care of. And that's the advantage you get with podcasts. I've seen many people use this for book summaries. I've seen many people use it for many different things, guys. Every single thing can be converted into a podcast if you think of it, or if you just search it, you'll just find. Some people talk about a real estate. I think Praful was asking about real estate. I'm damn sure many people are talking about real estate. Investment, how to find proper real estate investment. That's a nice topic. We found many real estate news. Yes, real estate news. If you're someone, let's say in targeting a particular country, you can talk about the country's particular news. That's what it is. A lot of things can be done, like the prices, the areas, how it's developing, etc., etc. A lot of things can be done, guys. A lot of things can be done. So let me stop my screen share. Let me look at it. Thanks, all of you. Yep. Thank you so much, Praful. Many people talk about AI to improve the audio, character, etc. Dave asked, any webhook available for some external automation?
Yeah, so this is a data question. This is something we don't currently do, but we have looked at in the past. Aditya, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, we don't do that right now, but that sounds something that would be quite easy to add on to our product. So I'm very curious what the use case could be there. Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm really would be eager to learn more about that. So feel free to contact us. I'm very curious.
Got it. Tef, if you're scheduling a call with us, we would like to know your use cases as well. And guys, you guys have provided a ton of feedback to Dominic and Dito in the chat, in the questions and etc. What you guys are expecting out of AudioHarvest. And this is what is. Steve has a question saying, can we use AudioHarvest to create more than one channel, more than one podcast? Absolutely. We don't want to limit you on that as well. But again, the plans will be there. We're going to discuss them in the call with you. But yes, you can create more than one podcast. Absolutely. No one's stopping you. As an agency owner, you can actually use it to create a podcast for others, the brands you're consulting with, etc. and then you can then you can like charge them for making the podcast. Yep, that's a nice use case. Link of the deal, Alex. We are doing this differently. We want to do a one-on-one call with you so that so that you can get started with your very first podcast. So we are asking you to fill the form so that we can schedule a one-on-one call with you, understand your needs better, so that we can serve you better. That's what it is. We don't have any upsells, guys. We don't have any sort of crazy upsells, crazy things going on. It's just a lifetime deal. That's what we're going to talk about. And that's completely up to you if you want to buy it or not. But here's what we show you. If you buy it, you know that you can start your podcast with the first 15 to 30 minutes. That's what it is. Otherwise, it's very much welcome to ask us any questions about podcasts, any questions about topics, any questions about anything. Our goal is to get you started with podcasting in 2022, not to like upsell you, get more money out of you, nothing like that. Okay, no ill intentions. You'll get to know in our calls as well. So that's what it is. And let me tell that to you. Yeah, I'm not like those ClickFunnels marketers. PitchGround is not like those ClickFunnels marketers and will never be. Absolutely. Let me look at the other questions. Webhook, we already answered that. Create more than one podcast, we have already answered it. Perfect. Now with this, we are coming to the final leg of the webinar, that is the giveaway. Absolutely. So Dominic, what do we do for the giveaway? Do we just tell them to write something, or do you have any fun things in mind?
For the giveaways, let's just give it away. Let's get it out there. And
perfect. So just type in AudioHarvest in the chat. Yeah, just type in
AudioHarvest.
All right. All right. I can see many people already commenting in. I'm going to choose one random winner. Don't comment twice. That's what it is. Choose one random winner who's going to win AudioHarvest. And
I quite like the me.
Yep. There are many people. AudioHarvest. I'm going to choose one person, and that person is going to be, since Tefio has been more active on the webinar, asking us a lot of questions, giving us a lot of feedback, and also attending our webinars really actively. That's right, Tef, you won the lifetime deal for AudioHarvest. Congratulations. Schedule a call. We're going to make sure you're going to get the lifetime deal. And Yuvraj as well, please reach out to me on my personal channels, on my email, so that you can, if you already filled the form, there's no need. Otherwise, we have the details of the winners. That's what it is. So guys, we have more giveaways that's going on Twitter, on our Facebook groups as well. So the giveaways doesn't just end here. It's going on our Twitter. Yes, go to PitchGround's Twitter account. Let me show that to you over there. Go to PitchGround's Twitter account. Stay active over there. We can have more giveaways. We do every product's giveaways on our Twitter account, on our Facebook account, etc. Fun fact, there was a user in the month of November. He has won 20 products just by participating in this giveaways. He was so lucky that he just won 20 products back to back. And that was insane. We were also wondering, like, how did this guy win 20 products? He ended up just taking those products home all for free, just by attending these webinars, just by getting their questions answered, just by getting a ton of value. That's what it is. So attend our webinars, stay active on our social platforms, and we're going to see you in our calls. And guys, let's get started with our podcast in 2022. That's what it is. Let's reach more audience and let's grow ourselves to much bigger, whether it's our personal brand, whether it is our business, etc. Let's grow in 2022. That's what this is. And Dominic Dieter, thank you so much for taking out your time and also for the offer as well. Answering all the questions, showing us about AudioHarvest, podcast, and etc. And everyone, thank you so much for attending this webinar, taking out your time, participating in the giveaways, asking your questions, and etc. Thank you so much. Dominic Dieter, any last words before we end this webinar?
I just wanted to say thanks to everyone for the time. Really appreciate everyone listening. It's been great to share our product, and I love the feedback. It's just hugely helpful. So we've downloaded all of that feedback. We're going to take it on board. Really, really helpful for us. So we're just going to focus on that. And then once we've kind of absorbed all of that, we'll try and feedback and start to work through some of that stuff.
Absolutely. And Geoff, that's exclusive for Twitter. That's right. We're going to find people inside Twitter. We're not just going to mix Twitter, webinar, etc. So yeah, don't worry. We will announce those winners over there as well. Yes, you can have the recording, Yuvraj. You will get it within 1 working day. You'll get an email, automated email. It's all automated, so no issues on that front. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you in the calls. We'll see you in our upcoming webinars and also on our social media handles where more giveaways are there for you to come, more value and etc. Thank you so much, everyone.